Thank you for having me.
So Luc, I must admit, when I was researching you as a person, the first thing I found was actually your Instagram account.
Okay.
Okay. No, I think it's great because...
There was not a lot of blockchain on there, I guess, right?
No, but a lot of nice travel destinations.
Yeah.
Is that part of your innovation strategy at Deutsche Bank?
Well, yeah, it might be difficult to justify my travel only with my job, I guess. But yes, I mean, part of my job as being global head of innovation, I do travel quite a bit. And I would guess, especially in my role, it's important not only to sit in an office, but actually to go outside and experience the ecosystem, experience the different players. And this makes sometimes my assistant a little bit nervous when I walk the streets of Pune for 3 hours, because I want to experience what it's like to see an MBA school at every corner and a programming school at every corner. So yes, it's part of my also part of my job, I guess.
Yeah, and it's also great for young people who work at your company because they most of the times don't know who their CEOs or bosses are, and you're sharing like part of your life, of your job, and people get to know you. That's great, I think. Yes. Okay, so we are streaming on LinkedIn live, I told you before, and I asked my LinkedIn community to actually give me some questions for you. And one of the first questions was, has Deutsche Bank already put blockchain technology into practice? Are you using it already?
So a number of comments. Yes, blockchain is very important in terms of disruptive technology. It does have the potential to, to redesign platforms and services, and potentially also to take the intermediate player out of the equation, which traditionally has been the bank often. There's also a potential around mutualization of data, which is quite interesting, service or sharing of infrastructure. But at the end of the day, I look at blockchain as I look at every disruptive technology out there. We monitor it very closely. There's always an aspect, and this is where we come in as an innovation function, where we really make sure we understand the new technology, we understand the opportunities and challenges around it. So yes, and for blockchain, we had it, we tested it across a number of use cases, unsecured lending, smart contracts, corporate bond issuance, et cetera, et cetera. But this is only one part of what we do, right? I mean, understanding a technology. The other part is how do we prepare for it, right? So Deutsche is part of the big consortia, for instance, around blockchain, making sure we drive and frame a number of the discussions when it's, establishing standards with the industry, talking to the regulators. So how can we frame business models of the future around it? I still find often that the real value is often not only looking at a singular technology, but the potential is often by combining different technologies. So as much as I like to speak about blockchain or AI or quantum, et cetera, the real value is often by combining it.
And how do you combine them? Have you got any practical examples?
I mean, combination examples are, there are many. I mean, if you look at AI, for instance, or robotics. Initially, when we were looking at processes and streamlining, it was very robotics-driven, very rule-based. And then we said, okay, yeah, let's add AI to the mix, right? So that we have machine learning around it, cognitive capabilities that really allow systems to learn. This is one example, right? That is very efficient and then really allows us to streamline our processes and by the way, also saving a lot of money. That's certainly not a bad thing. The other example is, if you look at cloud computing maybe, it is highly interesting as an individual technology if you think about high-frequency trading, offline calibration of models. You can do Monte Carlo simulations very efficiently. But if you combine cybersecurity with quantum, that's of course much more interesting, right? You have 64-bit encryption. At the moment it takes roughly, with today's CPU, it probably takes over a year to hack this. With quantum, it's a matter of minutes. So I guess this is another example where it's really important to look at the different technologies and combine it, not only around opportunities, but in this case, maybe also challenges.
Someone told me the following statement: banking is important and necessary, but banks are not. What would you reply?
Well, that's a very black and white statement, right? So Well, if I look at our DNA, and Deutsche is celebrating 150, its 150th birthday next year. So that's maybe also a moment to also look back and understand the DNA. If I look at the DNA, it's we've traditionally been very strong in transaction banking, trading, investment banking. Those are all products and services that will always be part of a broader economy. But yes, as we see with blockchain, you need to look at the value chain and how it evolves. If I look at something like the retail bank, this is where we see more examples around platform players coming into it. So I think we see a much bigger prerequisite around having reliable, safe, easy-to-use solutions. One example around this is Yuna. Some people might have heard we've launched. This is a platform offering earlier this year, targeting mainly younger clients or non-clients. We had so far 400,000 downloads. So this is maybe an example around how those retail banking offerings are often evolving into platform strategies. And so I think as long as you have those kind of customer touch points and are able to deliver superior solutions, I think there will always be a need for banks.
So what is the role of the bank then in the future? You said it's shifting from the traditional kind of banking to new kind of banking. What is the role?
I mean, if we look at platforms in general, I think we will play a much bigger role along the life cycle, and I see this with a lot of value-added services. So, in the commercial client space, for instance, traditionally we were asked more about how can I finance this new venture, etc. Now we got a lot of questions around. I want someone to help me end to end, right? Around accounting and tax, et cetera. So it's more holistic because we own these kind of customer touch points. I think going forward, we will probably not be everything for everyone. So this is certainly something, talking about blockchain, when we see commoditization of core banking service, you always need to ask yourself, so where can you really add value? And I think adding value is really across the customer journey and the entire life cycle in this case.
Speaking of customer touch points, which you just mentioned, another user commented on LinkedIn that branches are dead. And he mentioned an example. He said that Capital One, a bank in America, they transformed their bank into a cafe. So people go there, drink a coffee, work there, and maybe then they're going to get in touch with the bank and, open up a bank account. Is this something you would, see in the future as well for your bank?
This is very similar to our branch of the future we have in Friedrichstraße. Some people might know it. Yes, the reality, the customer feedback is they need less of offline services. They go less and less into branches. But I think as a premium bank like Deutsche Bank, there will always be the need for a personal discussion, right? So does this need to happen in a branch? Absolutely not, right? So we have service centers with very long opening hours, by the way, so where you can also engage by VCs, by video with with advisors, for instance. And if you go to the branch of the future in Friedrichstraße, it's exactly this, right? You have like a coffee corner. This is actually something where market research is quite interesting. So we tested this with a number of focus groups, and the feedback was actually, I don't like those closeted spaces, like a small room. I want to discuss my finances, in an open space. I was actually surprised by this. Maybe I'm already very old at 45, but I was surprised by clients actually telling us, I don't mind at all talking about my finances in an open space over coffee with people walking by, doing shopping, etc. So yes, so we adapt to what the customer wants, and I think you always need to have different formats in place to help them.
One last question. Speaking of customer feedback, you once said in an interview that feedback is the key to success. Does that also mean that you, as the head of innovation, actually go into a branch and speak to the people, do a survey with them? Are you in contact as the head of innovation with actual customers and people?
This is another example that surprised a lot of people when I started. I actually do work in a branch from time to time for like half a day. That's maybe my way to connecting to my traineeship 25 years ago. No, but seriously, it's, for me, it's a way to really see that all those solutions we talk about and think about, how are they used, what is the feedback, what do clients want. It is also a cultural thing. And I remember when I did this the first time, this really surprised a lot of people, right? To have like a managing director, global head of, coming into a branch and, telling everybody, you know what, I want to work here for half a day. So a lot of people were a little bit skeptical, I would say. But so yeah, it's also a cultural thing. And for people to understand we are in this together, especially as a leadership team, I feel it's our responsibility to take the organization into the future. And this is just one part of it. It's all about, being connected to our customers, to the people, who talk to our clients on a day-to-day basis. So yes, I do this a lot. I don't only do this in branches. A few weeks ago in New York, I sat on the trading floor for a few hours. I spend a lot of time with wealth management clients, etc. So
I like that
attitude. To do this a lot, yeah.
That's important. Thank you very much for sharing your insights. Our time is over, unfortunately.
That was great.
Thank you.
Yes.
And please come back next year. Thank you very much.
Thank you.